everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create, and today we are working on Stamperia's Forest Collection, and we have an 8.5 by 6.5 mini album, and the pocket pages are 8 by 6 finished. If you haven't built your base album yet, go back to the playlist and select the second video, and that's the base album build, and then the following videos are going to add the interactive components and the designer layers. So we are on page 1. You should be starting, like I said, with a pocket page. So if you don't have a pocket page, stop, make 4 pocket pages. That's what this album's going to require. Okay, so now we're on to page 1. Page 1 is going to have a couple of components, and one of them is this envelope. I made this envelope using Martha Stewart's scoreboard and envelope maker. This is based on a 7.5 by 7.5 square, and let's see what that makes. So here is the 7.5 by 7.5 square, and you wind up with a 4-bar envelope size. So you'll score, once you start with 7.5 by 7.5, score at 2 5/8 and then 3 1/4. And that is going to make this size envelope. And if you don't have to make your own, if you've got a black envelope, use that. I just made my own, and then I cut down papers to fit it. And the finished envelope is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. But you could really use any size you want. It's not critical. And you don't even have to use an envelope if you don't want. So page 1 is going to have a base mat, and then we're going to install a double flap. And this double flap is 11 inches, and you're going to score it 5 inches and 6 inches, and you're going to wind up with a 1-inch gusset. It's going to get laid down like so, and then we are going to stagger the envelope, and the envelope flap is what's going to hold everything in place. So that's what the design is going to look like. So let's go ahead and start by laying down the mat. There's not going to be a magnet under here. We will install a magnet, and it'll be on the double flap and on the actual envelope. And this is from the 8x8 collection pack. So I'm just about finished laying out all my papers, and what I've come up with is I've used 1 12 by 12 and 3 8x8s, and that has allowed me to cover almost everything that I wanted to. And I've got some scraps, and at the very end of the album I'll show you what's left over. Okay, there we go. I love this scene. I like it so much that this is also going to be what I'm using on the cover, but I'm using the 12 by 12 version of it. So it's a little bit larger scale, but I really think this is beautiful. Okay, now we're going to add our double flap, and I'm going to, because this is, sorry about that. Well, sorry about that. My dog got a little excited about something. I had to go check on it. Turns out nothing was there. She's just being a little jumpy. Anyway, so we're back. So I'm going to put some tape on here, and we're going to install this, what I call a double flap. And it'll take just a second. And I don't have the perfect width. This is actually 1 inch, so I'm using, I think this is 5/8, and then I'm just going to double it up with a 3/8. The other option is to use glue to cover the rest of that, which actually I think I might do that. I think I'll go ahead and use a little bit of glue here too. All right, so let's do that. So I started to say before the dog scared the bejeebies out of me. I want this is the spine side, this is the pocket side, and I want my flaps to open away from the edge. I'm thinking about that real quick. Actually, I changed my mind. I want the flaps to open away from the spine, and then I'm going to put my envelope right here. So I'm going to move it over, I think, yeah. So let's see, I think I'm going to go about a 1/2 inch, yeah. About a 1/2 inch, or actually 3/4 of an inch from the edge. And then I'm going to go a little bit down because I know I've got the envelope here. So I'm looking for kind of an even border around this corner. And then for whatever reason I got in here without my Tim Holtz ruler. I hate that. So I'm hesitating to put this down because I want to make sure it's going in kind of straight. So I'm just going to use anything that's got a straight edge to kind of help me. So I think I need to lift that. It needs to go over a little bit more. There we go. That looks good. Okay, I'm going to burnish that down. It's got tape and glue on it. Okay. You know what? I just remembered that I actually... I trimmed this out to go in a particular direction, so I'm glad I... This one goes here, I think. Yeah, here we go. So it goes like this. So here's the gusset, and I just made this a continuous image. And then when you close it, so it was directional. I'm glad I put it in the right way. This fish continues here. So you don't have to do that, but I thought it looked really cool. This is from the 8x8 collection pack. So it's a slightly smaller scale than the 12x12. So it works really well on these smaller flaps. And I want to get all my designer paper in before I decide how I want to place my envelope on top, because I want to see how the patterns all go together. Okay. Double check my fit, and it looks good. Great, great. Okay. So I'm able to do these images like this because I'm using multiple packs of the 8x8. Because if you are familiar with Stamperia, you know that in the packs you get 10 double-sided sheets and there's no duplicates. So that's one of the reasons why I like to get at least 2 packs, and in this case 3 packs. Because I do like to do images like this and to, you know, repeat some patterns. Okay. I can't remember which one I got going which way. I really love this tree. It's so pretty. I think because this is such a great image, I think I might want to do something more simple on this side. So I'm going to use this one here. And I'm just doing a quick dry fit, and it looks good. Those are my options. I like this. It's more subtle. This would be a case where you could easily put a picture on this mat that I'm placing and leave this uncovered if you want, as a design piece that sort of accents what you're laying down here. You could cover part of it as well, but I kind of like the idea of going back and forth and then I would leave this one uncovered as a design element. Yeah. And I just did that not thinking, gosh darn it. I'm gonna lift it up really quick, guys, because I need a magnet. I need a magnet, so don't lay that down yet. I'm terrible at this. I don't know what's going on with my brain these days. Maybe it's just too much alone home time. But I think I did this in a couple other videos just for this book. Ah! Even talked about putting a magnet in. And I just think this is gorgeous too, this tree. There's a couple of them that I actually trimmed around because I really wanted to feature this element on that sheet. All right, let's get a couple of magnets and try to get this figured out. Okay, so actually, I'm going to set this aside. Let's decorate the envelope first. And then once we get that done, we can sort of figure out its placement. In the meantime, all this glue can dry. And I'm going to need a magnet. I'm going to pull it back in. We're going to do a rough estimate. We're going to need a magnet. I'm going to place it right about there. Let's make sure this is coming over far enough. Yes, it is. So I'm going to put it right about in the middle, and it's actually going to go on the top. And I'm going to use a nice fat piece of tape. And let's see, let's do a quick test. So the magnet needs to be about right here. So let's do that. And see how this goes. There we go. So I gotta make sure it's right. I might not have had it in the right direction. There we go. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, that's what it's gonna look like. So I'm gonna actually glue this magnet to the envelope after I glue the envelope down. So now that I have a good visual, I'm going to draw a quick line here on the corner and then get some glue on it. Okay. Sorry, I need to get it closer to me so I can look right over it. I'm going to open both of these up and I'm going to glue the whole back of the envelope down. Now you don't have to, you could glue 3 of the 4 sides and then have a hidden pocket behind the envelope, but since the envelope is a pocket itself, I decided to go ahead and glue the whole thing down. I don't think I need that extra storage space. Okay, now we are able to flip my tape over. I'm actually going to make it smaller. Get a fresh piece. There we go. Now we're going to cover that up with this. I think I'm going to go this direction. Yeah, there we go. All right. I like this better, so I'm going to go with this side. So when I did these trim pieces, I just cut these by hand. Basically, I used the envelope as a method to trace, and then I trim these down to size by hand. So okay, now we can go ahead and lay this in. Let's go ahead and test the magnet one more time. Is it in the right spot? It is. Okay. Okay, it's coming along. There we go. All right, sorry about that. Messing up with the magnet, but we're back on track. Okay, and then I trimmed out, and like I said, I just did these all by hand by slipping a piece of paper under it, tracing around the edge, and then hand cutting these pieces. These are going to go here. And then I drew this line over this little piece that's sticking out because I really don't like it. And I was thinking about trimming it off, but I'm not sure if I'm going to or not. So let's look at it real quick. So I think I'm going to trim this down a little bit. So I'm going to do that by hand. I'm just going to draw a little line. So basically these two lines are where this meets, and then this little peak here is the top of this designer paper. So I'm just going to cut it down real quick because I don't care for the way it looks. And I said that, and I don't think I have any scissors. Yes, I do. They're not the greatest, but we'll try. Okay. All right. Now, of course, you could cut it straight across or do any number of things, but this is what I want to do to keep that peak from just sticking out so far. It'll do a couple of things. One, I think it looks better, and then also it won't interfere when you're trying to put stuff into the pocket. Now I'm just going to remove my my little reference lines there so they're not sticking out so much. And I'm going to glue this down. And you can leave it open, or you can seal it like a regular envelope. And I'm going to seal the two sides so that it's actually a pocket. Oops, that was way too far over. And instead of leaving it so it explodes open, which is just another option, right? But I am going to glue these two sides down. And then it'll be just a regular envelope pocket. Okay. Now I'm going to add these two pieces. And I'm not going to cover this. You can, and I think I'm going to have enough paper left over, but I think it just starts to get too bulky. I made my envelope out of cardstock. And if you're using a purchased envelope, it's much lighter weight. It's easier to go ahead and continue to line it, but I just think this gets too bulky and the flap won't move freely. So I am going to leave it just black on top. Darn it. Butterfingers. Okay, so the last thing for this page is we're going to make an insert for the pocket. But I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to come back and do that once I look at what cards I have left and what my ephemera is going to look like. Okay, so there's our two flaps. Let me do a little bit of housekeeping. So this is page 1. I really like it. I've done something similar to this in other albums, but I haven't done this sort of envelope feature in a while, so I like it. I think this is really going to turn out to be a gorgeous album, and I think it's a great Father's Day or even a graduation, summer vacation. There's lots of ideas for this one, so I think it turned out really nice. And again, you don't have to make your own envelope. You can use an envelope that you have lying around. I wanted it to be black, the same as everything else. So I think that looks very nice and continuous. On the flip side of that, it's quite thick. So getting all those layers to fold down, you know, can make it quite bulky. So there's pros and cons of both. So anyways, that's page 1. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'll be back and we'll continue working on the album.